this is what we believe in, this is what we do. This doesn't change for us, right? I mean, I don't care if we play spread team, option team, wing tee team, this is what we do. And towards the middle of the season, we ended up getting okay at it. But we're a gap exchange overlap defense, meaning that you don't have a specific gap. You know, we're going to line up the right way, but then when the ball is snapped, hey, frankly, our C gap player might be an A gap player when the ball is snapped. So our gap will change based on what offense does. Again, I'm sure most of us are like that. We fit schemes, not plays. And again, I don't roll your eyes at me because I know that's redundant. I know that you guys all know that, but I think we can get into that trap as coaches of, oh my gosh, how am I going to stop? We just started talking about flat bones. You know, we ran that in McGonigal for 6 years, and that's a bitch. It's hard. So when we go into it, if we try to stop midline triple, and then all the way they block it and all that kind of stuff, and then they throw the counter. All right, let's just take a deep breath. What's the blocking schemes? What do they look like? We know how to fix these schemes. Whether they go into run like, you know, power teams or spread, you know, run team. There's only so much an offensive lineman can do, and that's what we try to base stuff off of. Okay? It does start with our defensive line and works back to all different levels for run fits. So we do incorporate everybody. In fact, I'll get to it. Our safety is a big part of our run fit game. All right? Sometimes our corner's not quite as much. Again, I talked about this in the first session. We'll attempt to spill everything to the outside, and this includes our inside linebackers. So even if you were going to run like weak side ISO, weak side bob at us, our weak side linebacker, I would like him to be hat in hand and knock you back. We can't always do that. But when in doubt, we are not trying to force it into our mic. Because where our mic is, and again, I know we all run different defenses, he's back. So our inside guys are up. Our mic is back, and he'll overlap it. The theory is pretty simple, right? It's like every step they take towards our goal line is a bad step for us. Every step that we can get them to go to the sideline is better for us. Now, this last bullet point is so important because I've talked to guys, and maybe I'm not smart enough to understand what they were saying, but I know this: if you're going to be a spill team, and that's all we do, like even if we're bringing, even when we bring pressure, right? And I could do a whole thing on pressure, but that's not what this really is about. But when we do bring pressure, we are looking, can we bounce everything, right? But then you better have an edge player, right? So whenever we draw up anything, right, and we are multiple front, but in every front, knowing that our linebacker, our ends, everybody inside is going to spill it. Well, who are you going to spill it to? And frankly, you could say, well, we're going to put the corner out there and cover two, and he's going to be our spill guy. He's going to clean up when that ball bounces. That's awesome if you can do it, right? Our guys can't do it. So we've got to figure out a way. And here's the other thing about that. We want it normally. So I can't say, I don't want to lie to you. Normally, I want it to be the same kid, right? Because I can put it on this whiteboard, right, and it looks really good. But if that kid has never been an edge player, and then we go into a game and I say, now you're the edge of the defense, after 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 weeks of being a downhill spill type of a linebacker, that's not fair to him. And then I can go back, yes, I can feel good that, yeah, I drew it up on a board. So that's our philosophy. And anything that we see, we try to stick to that almost exclusively. And I think it makes it easy for the kids, right? If something else gets goofy, I mean, that's on coaches to fix, but I don't want to defend all your plays. I know there's a lot of great offensive people in here too. You guys are way too smart. I don't want to mess with that, right? We want to line up correctly. We want to stick to our philosophy, and I'll defend your schemes, but not all your plays because I don't even know what all of them are. All right, so I'll go through this somewhat quickly. This is our key drill. Again, after our indie drill, we do some sort of this. This is an everyday drill. We'll either do it 1 versus 1, 1 versus 2. Everyone here, obviously everyone here is doing the same thing. I just drew them all together for you. The big ones, those are the 4 big ones, right? So the turnout block, maybe on the backside of inside zone, the front side of an ISO play, whatever. Again, we talked about this, but you know, the buzzword we use on that is obviously fight pressure, but close the door. If that offensive lineman wants to open the door, we got to fight that back. And we're not a 2-gap team. We're a 1.5-gap team when we're good. I don't know if we're a gap and a half team this year. Meaning this, that if I get a turnout block by an offensive lineman and I feel that pressure, can I fight long arm, okay, and my foot and push him back and condense that gap for my linebacker to fill and hopefully get that thing to bounce, and my Mike can get over the top, my free safety can get in the alley, and my edge player, which I'll show you on film, oh boy, that's a tough position. Everything, those guys shouldn't get blocked. I mean, we're a counter team, we run power, we run a lot of wing T stuff. Guys, if we're going to trap you inside, we don't block the outside guys. Meaning that if you could get our offense to bounce to those guys, they're never blocked. So those guys have to be able to tackle them, they got to have their feet right. So that might be a whole other speech there too. Reach, now look, I tell our ends don't get reached. But it's kind of a shitty thing to do, right? To tell a kid that you better get real tight on him, right? Don't you dare, if he down, but don't you dare get reached. So here's what we tell our kids. Don't get reached. And we tell them, long arm, so if I'm getting the tackle trying to reach me to the left, we'd say about long arm, I'm trying to go long hip. Eventually, when I start to feel my body turn, kind of tell them to wipe their nose, club off, finish the drill, going back towards our outside line of scrimmage. But what we tell our backers in our run fit game is, if he gets reached, make him right? So if we get into a situation where we are reached, the one thing we cannot have our ends do is this. So if I'm reached, Eric, come here real quick.
All right.
That's fine, don't hit me on just come here. These are the guys that showed up. So if Eric reaches me, he's got me beat. Put your hands on me, Eric, it's okay. All right? The one thing I can't do is this. Okay, so I'm just going to keep fighting, and I got to trust the guy behind me, stay right there, that he'll get over the top of it and make me right. If I've got him beat, long arm, long hip, okay, and then eventually working back, the backer's going to make me right again, and that's that whole gap exchange thing. That wasn't so bad, Eric.
Coach, do you have trouble teaching this when you can't to the platoon?
Yeah. Yes, of course. But I'll say this, we don't teach a lot. Meaning that these are the 4 blocks I'm going to teach, and I'm going to emphasize these. But yes, especially in year 1, right? When you take over a program and all that kind of, but I'm sure all of us have done that. If you're head coach, you're taking over a program, now you're doing it your way. So the one thing I'll say, Coach, is that we teach all these, but then what are the team, I'm going to emphasize, if we're playing power team, we're working a lot of this in our key drills, all right? We're working a lot of pull stuff in our key drills, right? So I will focus on that, because like you said, I want to show them everything. Now here, to your point, we'll teach them the screen stuff, the pull stuff, and if we just get a base block, that's fine. We spend that much time on it. I feel we can do it in other places, and I can't teach everything. So I just think of what can hurt us, I focus on that, and then like to your, what does the week look like? It gets down to like that. Okay? So, yeah, that's a good, I think we all struggle with that, but especially, the nice thing for us this year, I hate to say it like this, our numbers were low. We took the program over kind of late. We had to shake the bushes a little bit, but you can get 7 defensive linemen, 8 defensive linemen, all we had, and you can kind of work with them a little bit closer. Now again, they're also all our offensive linemen too. I think one of them might have been a corner or outside linebacker, something like that. All right, here's a 2-man stuff, and this is what we talked about. I think this is a better drill because frankly, it's just what I think you see it a little bit more. Double team, we talked about it. We're going to attack one when we feel the other one coming. And boy, I've gone back and forth with really good football coaches that disagree with me on this, and that's perfectly fine. They're probably right, but this has worked for us. You got to get kids to buy into it, right? So I am going to, now first, the best way to defeat a double team is to knock that first guy back, and then he can't double you, right? So if I can get in there, and I can hit, and I can change the level, he can't double team me. That's great, that's awesome. It doesn't happen all the time. So when you get that hard double, we do want to fit into it, but I'll be honest, as soon as this happens, we're down immediately, trying to take 2. I hope we'll get to the film where you're going to see us not do that. And now, I just talked about whether it's our mic or it's our back overlapping, and now here comes a nose guard coming right back into him, and you can't play football that way. I don't know how many of you, I'm always interested in how people teach this. But again, this gets back to that power stuff. Yeah, it is hard. gap pull. Here's how we teach it. If my guy pulls, I'm gonna go ahead, okay, I'm looking at the number goes away, right? I'm gonna go and I'm gonna shoot my outside arm, try to flip my hips and get real skinny. That's great clinic talk, it doesn't always work that way. Because I'm also getting a guy down blocking me. I wanna stay as tight as possible. Here's the thing though, because we're an overlap team, when we get a down block, our backer should be coming. So the big thing is don't get driven into the A-gap, if that makes sense, right? So if I'm the end, tight end's coming down on me, okay? Even if I have to post it, that's fine. We do have guys that'll chase down, right? That'll flip their hips like a pass rush, okay? Even like use that elbow to do the ice pick and back. That's awesome, that's great, I love it. You don't see it happen very often. Cross face, I don't know. I don't like to defend again. As an offensive coach, when we block and guys are crossing our face, I think it's a good technique. I think it screws up if I got a really good kid, our nose guard, okay? Now, he'd be a kid, I want to tell you the truth. He didn't see a lot of pull because we don't see a lot of center pull, but he'd be the type of kid that if he could do it, go do it, right? But first you got to do it my way, right? If you're across the face team, awesome. I'd always be interested in how your linebacker fits up on it, but that's your deal. This is the hardest one for us, without a doubt, because we are a hard squeeze team. So if I got two guys, right, if I'm the nose guard and my center block's down and I'm going to squeeze him down, right, and my momentum's going that way, and now I get this, all right, there's two trains of thought on it. Keep squeezing them, and now let all your linebackers come over the top. It's not what we do, okay? When I start to feel that, we got to go slow at first, put my foot in the ground, and I'm going to pop vertical. You say, well, coach, you're not a vertical team. We don't mind getting vertical when you don't want us to get vertical, right? And here you don't want us to get vertical. You're trying to get your head across, you're trying to get us washed down. The other thing, the rule still stands. If I'm getting pushed out of my gap, vertically or horizontally, get down, take two. So if I'm down here and I'm like, shit, right? I can sit down and take two, okay? I can pull here. I don't know, we haven't been called for defensive holding very often. We defensive hold a lot. The scoop stuff, the zone stuff, the one thing that we talk about a lot is don't get overtook, you know? So if coach is here, you know, and whether could be outside zone, outside inside, whatever you guys call it, all right? And he's like, I'm gonna fight here, now I feel this overtake coming. We usually call a spine technique. We stole it from Wisconsin, from Coach Partridge. So as soon as I start to feel that, okay, so if coach was here, I'm gonna try to work my body right through the back of his spine and try to change the level the best I can, right? Again, if I start feeling myself overtook, I don't mind the guys getting down, giving ourselves up. A lot of D-line coaches say, we just don't do that, that's fine. But we are willing to give ourselves up with the idea that if I can take two, the guys behind me will get it done. And they may not get their name called, but they're going to hear. Then as a coach, if you're going to teach that, you better load those kids up like crazy. Now, the last thing I'll say about this slide is we're a big slanting team. So again, why you do this? Well, you better do this out of the slant, right? So we'll say, okay, hey, 2-on-1 key drill, slant left. All right. So now I'm going to slant to my left. Okay, we talked about that big step. Now I'm playing stuff technique just on the opposite guy. The nice thing is the rules don't change, right? The hardest one when you slant, obviously, is when you get this one, right? When you get this one, so if I'm lined up here and I slant to the guard and he pulls the bucket step and overtake, I cannot end up in the A-gap. So now I'm going to work through his spine the best I can. I think that's some film I was doing it okay. Let me show you one or two more and let's get to the film. Because I do want to get the auto check stuff. Like I said, it doesn't take me that long. Here, real quick, I know you guys can read. This has been good to us. We also read guards, but when we're on 3-4, our Sam and our Will are tackle to guard. Tackle takes precedent. Because you think about it, right? Normally we're lined up on, our ends are lined up on the tackle. That's going to trigger our end, and we got a gap exchange. Pull across, those different types of things, yeah. We got to figure out if those are true pulls. I mean, you play teams like really good win T teams. We played Muskego for a lot of years. They're going to false pull you both ways, run trap at you. Right? So if you're running out of there, then you got to make kind of, I guess, game plan decisions on how you want to do it. But we are still a tackle read team. It fits what our ends are doing to our gap exchange. We can argue this, we won't, or we can do it later. The offensive linemen don't do as much. I just don't, they do a lot. I was an offensive lineman, I can say. I was an offensive tackle. So I just didn't do as much as the guys. I think it's a cleaner read in our stack. Okay, when we're in our two linebacker set, we don't change the rule. That's a cruddy thing to do to kids. Okay? Say, hey, Brooks, you got to read the tackle. Who are you reading? I'm reading the tackle, coach. Wait, we just brought 3-4 personnel in. Now I'm reading the triangle. We obviously are reading through to the, here I got the next slide. I'll show you what it really looks like. Now, hey, I'm not here to change your mind on stuff, but I know it's worked for us. I know we can show it to you. That's what the look looks like if we're in our 3-4, right? So now, our Sam's look is, he's looking there through to the backfield, okay? Our Will's tackle first through the backfield. If we had more time, we would get into some of these yes and no calls, because as you guys know, and again, a lot of good offensive coaches in this room, you're gonna start walking out our outside linebackers, all right? Which then is gonna take away some of the cutback stuff that our outside backer can take away. So just real quick, we can talk more about this later if you'd like, the outside backer always makes a yes or no call to the inside backer, say, hey, yes, 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 meaning I'm right here, man. That means that you can get over the top, and I'll shuffle in and be your cutback guy. Or he says, no, 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 because I got to walk out over number 2. Now he's got to stay and shuffle a little bit more. Okay, and again, that's not, we can talk more about that later, but that's just, you think about your run fits, it looks nice here, but now, I had that conversation with Fritz, who's at Arrowhead and Homestead. He said this, and I never forget he said this. Not knocking offensive coaches, I'm an offensive coach too, but offensive coaches get all worked up if the guy moves from a 2 to a 2-eye and we all freak out. Well, shit. Defense got trips and they motion over with an H-back, and now then all of a sudden they go empty. The hell's that? But you got to kind of draw that stuff up, and you got to communicate where you are, because now I'm displaced, right? All right, so real quick, I know you guys can look at this. Here's what we really mean. So here are our run fits. So we'll do this. Here's how we do this drill. Normally it's half line. It's not always half line. Very rarely is this a drill that it's full go. Normally our guys are holding shields. Okay, Tuesdays a day we'll get rid of the shields. Every day else we're usually in shields, which if you would have told me I would have said that 5 years ago, I would have said, my God, did I become soft? Maybe, but also maybe a little smarter with it too. But like, here's a good example. So if we get like ISO weak, right? Bob, whatever you want to call it. Base block, okay, I didn't draw this real great, but if he gets a turnout block, he's going to fight that, close the door, the nose should get down, and maybe it's power. Maybe they're wrapping to here. He's got to spill this thing for the overlap mic. There's the dog if he's there, right? If the dog starts to get walked out, all right, we're not going to change all of our run fits. That's on us to maybe work some cover stuff in our auto checks, right? Or back the dog up so we can fit in if it is run. Okay, we get into the RPO stuff too. We do some combo stuff, some banjo stuff. And frankly, if we can play man, we'll play it, because that does take away some of the RPO stuff, I think. I'm sure some good RPO coaches in here that would disagree with me. Here, good look here at this, right? Option, trap, power. So I guess my point is this. We can cover a lot of schemes and a lot of plays in one scheme. So if we just get all down, 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 okay? We talked about how to defeat this block already. End's going to squeeze, come flat down the line of scrimmage, okay? As soon as that inside backer sees that down block, he's going like crazy with his eyes to the back. Our bounce player is there. Again, if he's walked out, he's got to make a call. I know I'm going fast, I do want to get to the other part of this. We do treat pulls like down block. We can pull. Okay, here comes counter, maybe, right? We're going to try to get in the hip pocket. He'll fit up and replace. In our defense in the stack, the Mike, he backs up, he's deep. I know not everyone here runs the stack. Right? But I think the better our linebackers are, the more I want to back them up. Okay, that's my feeling. So we'll take kids that aren't as good put them closer because I can see coach and I can react faster. The better you are, the further you go back. Our outside linebackers, it's opposite. The better you are, the closer I trust you to get in because you can't get up the edge. The worse you are, you got, do that. So, yeah, I guess some of that alignment stuff is based on talent. 3-4, not a whole lot changes. This is really crappily drawn, I'm sorry. But again here, down, belly, maybe a G scheme. Get a double team maybe on the end. He's got to get down now. The Sam is hard for me to draw here, I'm sorry, but the Sam's going to run on him, So here, come here, man. What's your name?
Gavin.
All right, Gavin, come here, give Eric a break. Right? So stay right there. If he's the tight end, and I'm the Sam backer, just go ahead, down block here. I'm coming here, but I got to turn the corner, right? Just like a D lineman would do. Because if he's double teaming the end, see right there, and I fly upfield, I know what's coming. All right? So, hey, we're going to spill everything. So hopefully, our outside backer, who is going to make the tackle. Thank you, man, I appreciate it. You did work hard as Eric, I'm not going to buy you lunch. I can do any water. Stretch, inside zone. So again, I guess this is the one we're talking about too. We want the inside backer to make the end right. Right? So he's going to read that. If that window opens, let him go. I try not to yell at kids if they pick the wrong window. I think it slows them down. That's in our 3-4. We take the mic out. Okay? That would be, that's kind of how we might line up to that. Must decide who's the edge, right? So that's got to be your decision. Normally, we call them our dogs, but normally it's our outside linebacker, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'm okay making the safety our outside edge. There's a couple of occasions if I've got a good inside backer, I can walk him out and he can do both. I just don't love teaching kids something new as we get good at something. I just feel like the cup gets full a little bit. I know I'm going fast when I get some of the filming. Okay, here, the last one I show you is this. This kind of gets into the automatic checks. We do a lot. I was talking to Coach before about this. We're not in our stack that much. Well, I shouldn't say it that way. We move around a lot. So, we got to practice multiple fronts. So in our run fits, if we know going into the week that if we see a 3-man surface, we're going to auto check to an over front. Right? And we better run our run fits out of an over front. But here's the thing, nothing can change. The only difference is he's going to play him like he played a tackle, right? I'm not going to try to double teach him. He is going to still read the offensive tackle. The Sam linebacker walks up. So he can be nose up, maybe has to be inside, he's going to watch here. If you get the down block, he's coming right down the line, just like he normally would do if he was backed up. All right? We do that actually more. We see a ton, I guess, in that Badger North Conference. Not as much spread, but a lot of that H-back, power back stuff. And that's been really good for us to check to that, just because that C-gap could be a problem. All right. All right, let's get into, I will get to the film, I promise, but I do want to cover what I said I would cover. At the end, we're an auto-check defense. All right? And I think, again, you're going to say, yeah, Clay, everyone's an auto-check defense. And I get that completely. Let me just show you how we do it. Maybe you can take something from it. All right? I wasn't an auto-check defense for a long time. We'd have a couple of checks, right? Like, how do you line up the trips? Okay, we would do that. Those kind of, like, little small things that were kind of etched in stone. We went all in on it this year. Primarily, and Coach, you mentioned it, we didn't have a ton of time I guess we didn't have a ton of time. We needed to get our kids lined up. We had 6-7 guys going both ways. Just those kind of things, you got to figure out, well, how do we do this? I would say at the end of the day, it's a little bit more work for the coaches, I think, but I think it makes it easy for the kids. And I also think there's some hidden benefits that we found. All right, so this is one of the few stats I'm not a big stat guy, but this is an easy one for me to figure out. Over 60%. Sometimes we check out of stuff we shouldn't have, but over 60% of our pressures, coverages, fronts were auto-checked based on offensive formations. So we don't, hey, that stack defense, I'm Coach Brown, you guys run it, and a lot of you guys other run it, you guys are so good at it. We ran it, when I was at Pewaukee running it, we would come into a game with about 40 pressures. I mean, it was crazy. And I would say this, almost all of them were on the plate. And I thought we were really good. I wasn't the defensive coordinator then, but Our defense coordinator is one of my mentors, Mike Lecker. If you get a chance to talk to him, he probably won't talk to you. He's kind of a grouchy fucking heavy guy. But he's really good. He's really good. But I tell you, there were sometimes we were guessing. I know we were guessing. And then the other problem is, we call these pressures, team would come out like, man, I can't go. Now you got a lot of checking out. So this limited that. So we really don't go into a game. Now I'll show you our wristband. Okay, we go into a game with about 15 calls, but if we're using 15 calls in that game, it's a rough game for us. We haven't figured it out. So why do we do it, right? One, it keeps out of bad calls, especially in the heat of the moment, right? Where, God dang it, big chunk play given up. I've gotten better. That was one of the things when I came back head coaching, and I think such a lunatic, but once in a while, I don't think I threw my headset, maybe once. But, hey, coach, we practice this all week. I'm just going to give them, when I just show them, hey, here's one. You call on the field. So it keeps us out of those bad calls. We practice the game over and over and over and over again. And if they come out with something different, that's fine. John Sterner, I don't know if you guys, I know him, John Sterner's a friend of mine, coached with me. He said to say this: if they come out and run a bunch of stuff that you haven't seen, they're probably not very good at it. So let's take away what they do best, and that's why we do this. At least we try to take away what they do best. I like this part. We don't have to check out of a lot of things, right? So they're not getting a call from me and then looking around and then, oh, wait a second, cool, we got to check out of this now. We're checking into things. So we're going to line up, we're going to look at the formation, we're going to set our front. Sometimes there's an automatic pressure involved, sometimes there's a coverage involved. Now there's some work obviously that has to be done for that. This is the big one. It makes us communicate. And again, like I said before, maybe I'm the only coach in this room that has a hard time getting kids to talk to each other on the football field. And I think it's really simple, but I don't think it does us a lot of good to say, well, it's just kids. We can go around blaming the internet, I guess. I don't think it's going anywhere. So, here's where I made mistakes, okay? Like, I'd stand back there and I would yell at kids, say, hey, talk, communicate. I don't know what that means to a kid. Did I really tell that kid exactly what I wanted him to say, right? Or maybe I've told him a couple of things to say. So now I know what he does? He says something like, watch the run, okay? Or we're gonna go play Reedsburg, and hey, talk, watch the option. Okay, that's good, thank you, appreciate that. So this makes us communicate because we now have to get ourselves into our defense, right? And frankly, what I found is the less I talk sometimes in those parts of practices, the better we are. So I think you do have to teach kids how to communicate. Coach, how am I doing with that?
You got about 20 minutes.
Damn.
Sorry, 20, almost 30.
Okay. This is another big one. Limits the player's menu on what can happen to them. This is where I think the coaches have to do their diligence, right? Like, if we just line up in our stack all the time, right, which, hey, I'll say this, if you got a bunch of all-state dudes and you're loaded up, maybe you do less, I would imagine, right? But I just think that if I can put a kid, so if we auto-check versus that H-back, and he knows, hey, I got an H-back, and when I get this front, I know exactly what I'm doing every time. It lets him think less. So, like, the more kids have to think, the slower their feet get. So we had a couple of kids that, frankly, if I brought them in here, they could compete a little bit, and it's a credit to them, certainly not to anything we did, but we just gave them a thing to do that was sound, right? There's a couple of issues with all this too, but allows coaches and players to really focus on a pre-snap picture. I was talking to Coach Brown, or about Coach Brown, does such an amazing job over at Franklin, and his whole staff does. This is so good. We played Wanakee this year, and they are fast. Like they're snapping the ball before it seems like the last play was even over. Now we can auto check it. You don't got to look at kids. Don't got to look at their wristbands at all, right? They're going to go on different formations. Okay, fine, and away we go. So it helps versus your tempo teams, your multiple formation teams, all those things. It allows you to organize your practice. All right, I'm gonna kind of fly through this because I want to get the other stuff. Here, I'm gonna skip this one. You guys got it. Here's what a wristband looks like. So here's how this works when I look at the film. So we have two fronts that we normally run. Okay. If we want to auto check, that's on you as a defensive coordinator because you got the right personality, right? Which I screwed that up too. All right. I'll just put one finger in the air. That means that we're in our stack. That means if they come out in anything, we're playing our stack defense and we're playing red coverage behind. All right. Unless this is just an example of one. Well, if they come out in doubles, we don't like cover 3. All right. So if they come out in doubles, we're going to get into a different coverage, but also because of who they are. It could be because of where they set their back. It could be because of how they set their protection. It could be because of who's good on their team and who's not good on their team. We also want to incorporate Buck Strong. So I guess I could call Buck Strong silver, but why? The kids can do it on the field. Now, you do have to decide what does doubles mean to you. Like, I'm thinking 2x2, but what if they're stacked like this? You know, well, what happened? What, is that a wing or is that? You got to figure that out, right? And then you'll have to make a decision. So if we get wing doubles, okay, and this is an actual play, this is an actual wristband. We didn't like. We wanted to blitz the other way, right? When we got wing doubles, so we get tripped. So you can see what I'm talking about, right? So the kids just get lined up. But here's the thing that you got to make sure. Here's the thing that we got to make sure of is that what if they come out in something else, right? What if they come out in, because they're going to have a few off formations, right? That just don't match. Then you better make sure your defense is good, like is solid against any of the formations that they come up with. Same thing, if we bring our 3-4 in, our base fronts 3-4, our coverage is our black coverage. But if they come out in doubles, so look, if they come out in doubles in stack, we're running this. If they come out in doubles in 3-4, we're in something different because it fits better. Do the kids have to know? You know, the kids don't even have to know who's on the field because all they got to look is what? You see, look at the number, right? So they don't got to think, are we in our nickel? Are we in our, no, just, we're 2, all right? 2. Yeah, they're in trips. Okay, we know where we have to go. Now, I think I have this on the sheet. You guys know the issue with this. And a lot of really good football coaches in here. It gets predictable, right? Because pretty soon you guys, if you're an offensive coach or your offensive assistants or whatever, are going to say, shit, every time we line up in this, they're doing that, we got it. So I think this is where it might even become more difficult. Here's kind of our menu of other pressures. We have to make sure of one thing, that all of our pressures work in all of our fronts. So we better be able to run double buck, pinch black out of stack and out of our 3-4. There's a couple of ones we can't, and then I'll put them on the wristband. So like right here. Okay, so we can't run switch black. You don't know what that stuff means, right? We can't run it out of this. So I do have to have a few calls here, but I try to limit it, right? The other things you have to do, obviously, is stem, all right? So you got to have your kids move around, which I like to do, and I think I've given kids more freedom to do that. We have incorporated one thing, okay? We've shown kids, or we've called stems. So like, for example, if we want to run an auto check, I'll say this, line up in 5, well, let me take it back. I'll show you exactly how we do it. Okay. The first number is what we're in. So if we screw it up, at least we're in our defense. We're going to be in some auto check coverage. But show 5. So let's line, no matter what they come out and line up and show buck weak red. You guys know, we got an idea what the cadence is now. All right. Make sure on a kick it call, we've used that for a long time. Our Mike will call it, kick it, then we'll jump into whatever it is we have to jump into. So I think if you change things up, if you are willing to stem, and if you're willing to show some stuff and go back, and sometimes we'll do this. Let's say we want to bring everybody. 13, show what we've been in the whole time. And let's back out of it and then whatever you want to run. So there's some things I think have to happen to make that effective. Here's how we practice it, and I'll get to the film. All right? Here's what I mean when this really affected practice for us. And again, Coach mentioned it before. We don't got a lot of time. I got it. But this helps us practice. So here's how we practice our defense, right? We go formation review. How do we line up? How do we handle motions? If you're going to do this, right? If you're going to be a mostly auto-check defense, how do you handle shifts? How do you handle motions? Who's going to run? Who will never run? All those things. Then we go to Indy. We've talked about Indy. Indy must fit to our scheme. I said this before. Your coaches should be able to tell you their top 3 drills and how it fits into what you do. If they're doing drills that don't fit into what you do because they saw them in a book, get rid of them. They don't mean anything. We'll go to group 1. Run intro review. On Monday it's run intro, right? Okay? And now our kids are in bags. They get their wristbands on Monday. I will give them their wristbands on Monday. All right? I might make a change on Tuesday if Monday don't look good. Maybe Wednesday. We will never make a change on Thursday. Every single time I've made a change on Thursday, I place you in the you-know-what, right? You just say, the one change we'll make on Thursday is, we ain't doing it. That's the one change we'll make on Thursday. So group 1, now this is the important part. Okay, run intro review, so now we're in our auto checks. Group 2, team pass. This is a little confusing, so let me explain what I mean by this. On Monday, all we're looking at is your top 3 formations, right? And it's not even, I'll tell our guys from the scout team, all I want to see is wing doubles. They'll draw the cards. I think if you're the defensive coordinator, again, you can disagree with me. In fact, I hand draw. Good guy. But huddle's great too. I like to draw my own cards because it shows me, oh shit, I don't know if I like this or not. Because I know the kid. Not only do I know the scheme, but I also, when I put that little E down there for the end, I know who Kenny is. I'm like, oh yeah, this looks good, but Kenny can't do that. So I like to draw my own cards. I delegate some stuff, but I'm not going to delegate that. So I hand them the cards. All we're going to do is we're going to run our auto checks off of these formations. Then maybe we'll get through 3 formations. Okay, now give me 21%. All I want for the next 5-6 plays. Auto check it, right? The whole time. On Tuesday, okay, we'll mix formations up. So I'm still on the auto checks, right? Except now, one might be trips, one might be 21, one might be, you know what I'm saying, right? Now it's just all those, they got to recognize it. By Wednesday and Thursday, a lot of times I'm on the sideline and I'm making the calls and it's either auto check, right, or I'm giving them another call. By then, we go into the game on Friday feeling like we know the top formations, we've practiced auto checking, and we can run our pressures against this. Here's one thing, we never check out of a pressure. So if I put pressure on the wristband, it better be good against everything that they do. If not, that's why I've gone from 40 to 15. In the game, I might call 4 or 5. Yeah, and team's the same thing, so I won't go over it, you guys can read it, but I think if you are really going to buy into letting the kids call it on the field, they've got to see the formations over and over and over again. All right, you guys, we talked about the issues here, so I do want to get to the film before Tom stops me. The last one's the one you got to think about. I already talked about the other one. It might not work, right? You might practice it all week, it looks good, you get into a game, like that. We were checking to this formation and they're kicking our ass. Okay, well, another thing I learned from that grumpy Coach Lecker, I think he's 100, no he's not 100, he might be 90, he's old. He was old when I coached him 20 years ago. You get a chance to talk, go hear him, he never talks so. All right, you better have plan B, he would always tell us that. I didn't know what he meant, now I do. You better have plan B. If it looks good in practice, awesome, but what if they're coming out and every time they go unbalanced, you thought you had it and you don't? What's the next? For us, now we're coming off the wristbands. And that's a cool thing. Our kids will come off the, well, that's a lot because we had 7 guys going both ways. But I'll talk to them when I can, right? And, hey, what do you like? Do you want to stay in it? Or they'll say, no. Or do you want to go off of, should we go back to the wristband? No, the check's good, the check's good, the check's good. The kids will tell you probably before you even see it because they're out there, right? Because just because it didn't work once doesn't mean it doesn't work. The kids screwed it up. You guys know all that. But that communication with your kids and get those kids to feel comfortable so they can play fast and aggressive, that's the fun part about defense. All right, I don't know. Let's look at film until Tom kicks me off. All right, so now we'll look at a little bit more, oh crap. All right, there we go. We'll look at a little bit more, I don't know. All right, so this was a good game for auto check stuff because this, like I said, Wanakee really goes fast. Here you can see, all right, this is definitely an auto check because we have an H-back, all right? And right now we're running what we call our gold coverage, right? And later, if you guys want to stick around, I'll talk about that. Coach, I was telling you, a lot of times we'll put the SAM up here, but we'll put the SAM up here if we feel like this kid is going to really down block all the time. If not, we can also slant to him, but really, that's our safety. He's got him. The reason that we play our gold coverage is he can travel. So if we got a kid that can travel, I want to make sure we're in a call that allows one of our kids that's allowed to travel to travel. Our outside linebackers are never going to run. Our corner, I think we played one game until the corner's over. But our corners, they won't run. Our safeties will adjust. All right, let's take a look. All right, so now we're slanting. That's a really poor job by our end up top. He doesn't slant at all. It's a really good job. This one actually, we might not be slanting. This might be us just a little bit misaligned. Really good gap exchange up here though. Okay, our end does kind of take you inside. Okay, we don't play a lot of 4-eye, and I can talk about that if you guys want later, but down block, he needs to, let's assume he is slanting, he needs to get his hands on him and he does not. And that allows him to get back. But we do a really good job of getting down and the overlay. That's a run fit. So when you go to auto check, if I put an auto check in and our run fits get screwed up, it can't go in, right? Because how are we going to spend that much time in practice with our run fits and then say, oh, line up in this defense, oh, but now you can't overlay. Well, shit, we've been doing that for 4 weeks or 2 months or whatever it is. So I would like to know, here, I think I have it up there. It's a good job by our backer, but he should close this down even more, right? When he sees that tackle come down, he should be off the hip. He should be right there. Now, if this thing bounces again, there's our dog. He's wrong. Look at his foot. Outside backer's always got to have his foot back. Because if he somehow will be able to get out of it, now he's committed, I get it. But if he bounces that, how in the world would he be able to, he'd have to spin himself back around. You can see our Mike gets blocked. He's got to do a better job ripping over the top of it, but he gets blocked. We're in our 3-4 here because we don't squeeze on 75. Oh, no. Well, crap. I think our nose is working in there, but right now, if he was in here, it's a good, so we are slanting. Our end is, and this is the slant. This is okay. He's got a space in his gap, but right now, get down. Okay? Get down so the Mike can see this a little clearer. But really, if you look at it right here, we're okay. We're gap sound for the most part. And if the quarterback wants to keep it, the dog's out here. Next. This is good pad level by our defensive line. You can see we're slanting now. Like I told you, we won't slant, even though it looks like he's on the line. Yeah, he is actually on the line. So we should be really slanted. This is a good example of us doing some good stuff and some bad stuff. I like the way our backside end squeezes. He get more of them, right? He get more of them, but he's not coming upfield. I don't think he's being read just by where the quarterback's eyes are. I think it's more of a pass read. But if the quarterback were to keep it out the backside, we're here. We should probably rip. Okay, the mic's in the window. Look at our end. Our end to the play side. He's reached. But keep fighting. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he comes back inside once he kind of sees the ball declare. But who makes the play is the squeezing backside end, right? Am I afraid of anything coming out the back door? No, because the dog's sitting out there.
10 minutes, coach.
Okay. All right, so here's an auto check. We check to our gold coverage when they get into their 21, so now we will call this 21 because we're going to count him as a back and him as a back. Get the tight end over here. All our gold coverages, and again, I'll talk more about coverage later, we're going to pretty much say, hey, look, you got first inside, you got first outside. I'm sorry, first outside. And what this does, this allows us if he were to motion, it allows him to travel. In some of our defenses, he couldn't do that. So that's one of the reasons that we want to check to this. So if he's off the line, okay, let's check goal. Okay, I don't have to guess, right? They've got to check out. We know that. Here, this is fun. This is fun for me. I don't know. This is a good job by our nose. There's the punt. He's a little high. I got it. But he's getting there, and you can see now he's starting to rag down him a little bit, right? He's starting to feel where the pressure is. Okay, he's starting to feel where the pressure is a little bit. Okay, so it's just a really good job by him stunning the nose. And if they want to block our nose one-on-one, we're hoping that helps us. Doesn't always help us. If it does, we got to give him some help. Not a bad job slanting up top. Okay, now, this number 7 is pretty good. So we kind of treated him like 2 players. So we told our end, he's about 175 pounds. If you start getting pushed back, pretend it's a double team. But the second play, every play was a double team. Which is okay though. Just think about that. Whatever. We don't have anybody else. If I had someone else, I put him out there. He's an okay kid. Would I rather have him? I'll take a. What if he would knock him back and they get a stalemate? That's a hell of a job. So I don't know. To us, yeah. I don't. We're not looking. Hey, and we don't tell him to go at the knees. I'm serious. We don't. Hey, go to the sideboard, right? I don't know if that's illegal or not. Maybe it is. If it is, don't say anything, man. I'm trying to help out. But here's a good slant. Okay, to the end. We'll bring the dog off the edge. Our linebacker can feel we're in that 21 coverage, which gives us a bonus player here. I get it. I know it. Some of you guys that throw the ball over the place, you see it. I see it too. All right. No, not awful. Now look, this is okay. This is our dog. Our dog doesn't wrong arm that H-back. I don't love his technique. Remember, he is the edge of the defense. If that was the Sam or the Mike or the Sam or the Will coming off the edge, he better get inside 32's kickout block. What I'd rather see Dayton, number 5, do is when he comes down, shuffle down the line of scrimmage, keep your outside line leg back, and when that ball bounces, I can clean it up. So his body's turned the wrong way. But at least he's assignment sound. One more here, and I want to get to one other thing. Here's a good squeeze by the end. And again, here's another auto check situation. Coach, you were talking about that big split here. All right, so a lot of times, again, we're going to walk the Sam up. We'll walk the Sam up on some of our checks, and we will bring him through. The reason we didn't do it in this game is because we were in 3-4 almost the whole time. And we couldn't afford to bring another linebacker and play with one linebacker at the second level. If we were in our stack, a lot of times we'll auto check, and we will take the Sam. If you're an odd front defense, C-gap's your issue. So we like to walk the Sam up and just beat him inside as much as we can, right? And then we have to overlap players. Here we can't do it because we only have 2 linebackers here. So instead we check at the gold coverage, okay? Well, we're not even gold coverage now because of where they are. He's on 1, he's on 2. We could banter if we wanted to. But the thing I like about this is he's a traveler. So when he starts to shuffle motion, we can shuffle motion with him. And then if he comes back, we can run back with him. So, hey, you guys all know this. A big thing that we try to do in defensive schemes, can we get another hack, right? Can we get one more bonus player? All you offensive guys, I get it. You're trying to find the one guy. Who's got 2 jobs? Well, this guy's got 2 jobs. Because I'm counting on him as a run fitter. But if he goes out for a pass, you got to cover him. We want to limit that. We want to limit his stress. 32 is not their main ball catcher. You know what I'm saying? So we felt comfortable saying, all right, if he goes out for a pass, Tyler, you're a safety. You can cover. But also, you got to make sure you're a run fitter and help us in the C-gap with that H-back when they give us that 3-man surface. Good squeeze by the end. We're way too high here. Okay, so again, I don't know what they're running. Looks like some kind of inside zone read maybe. But our end is the dive player. It's a cruddy job by our Mike, isn't it? I mean, everything else is pretty good. But see how the Mike gets hung up there? So here's the thing, I'm being a little bit hypocritical on it. I said I wasn't gonna tell a kid to do two things. That's normally our Mike linebacker. You gotta be careful. He's usually the guy who's standing back here and flowing over the top of everything. He's not always used to reading the tackle. Right? So I'm gonna put this on me and say, hey, Garrett, who's a good football player, I got to rep you more there or put someone else there because we get a great squeeze. He should overlap with the quarterback now. Our dog does a good job, in our coverage here. Except for not tackling. But all right, get to the ball. Let me show you. Coach, I got time for one more clip here?
Yeah, you're good, you got 5 more minutes.
Oh, perfect. All right, so here, let me get to this. And again, fire off questions if we got them. Let's see. Here. All right. All right, here. So this is a team that gives you a lot of formations. All right, so here, this is something that we'll do. Call us look. All right, so teams that are going to get the line fast, right? And then they're going to, they want to see what you're in. I think you have to do this. Okay, I think you have to do this. They're looking over. Our guys have to look over at me, right? Sometimes I'll give them a signal that says, "Hey, we're switching, we're changing out of it," right? Sometimes I give them a signal, something like this. Okay, this. Hey, move around, but don't change. So we call that look, right? So you can see most of them are looking over. I will tell you this, I know we don't get time for a lot of stories, but the first time we did this, I said, hey, when they look, you gotta look. Well, we didn't practice it enough. I think it was in our first or second game, the O-line pops up and they all look, and our guys all go over, and they look at the same different direction. They're all looking over the same coach. Like, hey, what? They stealing signs? Like, no, I just didn't tell them where to look, so don't take shit for granted, all right? So then we practice it. So then, now I'm going to stop in practice, like on a Wednesday, I'll stand over here, if we're going to play a look team, guys, look over here. So, whatever it is. All right, so we get a look. I think we are checking out of this here. All right. I think we were bringing normally our 2 outside linebackers. I should have this marked up for you guys. No, we stayed in it. All right. So again, we're still, hey, this is the same stuff, right? There's that H-back. We're in a 3-4. Our middle linebacker is actually right here. He's going to be our run fit guy in the C gap. He's reading number 6 because we didn't think 6 was going to hurt us too bad in the pass game. Got to play some man. This is really good pad level. Let's see about being an auto check here. I don't think so. Okay, we're in a 3-4. These guys are mugging up here. I don't know if both of them are coming. So again, this is a show type of a deal. We don't auto check our shows, although I guess we could. This is good pad level. So this is fun. I mean, as a bless the coach, as a coach, as a coach. Now, if I was going to coach up our left end. Look where his hands are. See how his feet are in the ground before his hands are on? He's going to be in trouble. Here, we kind of run into each other. These guys look like they're pretty good buddies. But we eventually get the overlap on it. And this is what our defense is, okay? Whether we auto check stuff or not. And this looks like an inside zone play. So here's, I think, what you have to do with this. This is a really good job. Whether you want to line them up, right? So again, I shouldn't say you. Here's what we do with this. We don't line him up right now because we're in a different defense. But a lot of times, if he's a little wider, we might line him up in our 3-4. He's the guy that creates the cutback lane on that inside zone play. So if he's here, he takes a step, he's going to wall off your inside backer, and that back's going to start bringing you this way, he's going to stick his foot in the ground. So we've got to get underneath that wingback, and we rep that, and we rep that, and we rep that. And 44 is a good football player. Our other kid isn't as good. So a lot of times we told him just get up on the line and just go. We felt like he was good enough to read it. Okay? And here he does a pretty good job of getting underneath. Right now, Brooks, go. He
One more minute, coach.
Okay. He could be better, but he still bounces it. And this is what your defense wants to look like. One more clip. I do about here. This is the last one. This is a good one with our auto check. I know it looks goofy because we're so buried into the boundary personnel-wise, but we're trying to match numbers. So here, all right, we could combo this. When we combo something, it means two guys are on one. So right now, if he goes out, he's got him. If he goes in, he's got him. Here we could banjo this, right? We don't banjo it. We get good pad level. We get a really good slant to the guard, which brings our backer free. I don't know what coverage we're in, but we check out of this, okay? So what we should have, we were playing man, going to bring both outside linebackers. Instead, we checked out of it, and we brought 5. We can bring 5 and still play cover 3, but I think over here they've got 1, 2, 3. They've got a lone receiver over here. We should be in quarter, half, or quarter man. And then we use this guy who's not blitzing as a cut player, meaning that he's going to kind of take the flat, even though he's an inside dude. Although, frankly, if he doesn't do that, you guys figure out what coverage we're going to tell me. I'll come back and tell the kids. But we love blitzing the back, right? We love blitzing to the back. So we'll auto check that. Because he's got to make a decision, doesn't he? Is he going to stay and block? Or is he going to go for a pass? If you're going to do that, and I'll stop here because if he's going to do that, you better have the cut player, right? That's going to go ahead and, again, it looks like he should be spun back and we should be here, he should be in the flat, but all right, fine. Because I don't want to blitz peel him. I want him to go, and I want that back to make a decision. Get home on it. It's all right. Okay. So, hey, look, that was 2 sessions, and I'm sorry. Sometimes I get caught up in the drill stuff, but I'm not sorry, because that's where you're going to win your football games. You guys know that. I do want to say one last thing. 1 second, Tom. Am I okay? Hey, I think this was my. So if you're a younger assistant in here or whatever, if you're an older guy and you want to roll your eyes, you can do it. That's fine. I just want to say this. We had a nice year at Sauk Prairie this year, but it was easily the most fun I've had coaching, I think, in my life. And there was one reason why I got rid of my ego a little bit. You know, I just have to say that. I think that's important for younger guys in here, right? I was a little bit of a hypocrite. You know, I got really lucky when I was at Pewaukee, and then the first 3 or 4 years at McGuanago. I mean, I think we do a good job coaching, but no better than anybody else. We had pretty good players, you know. And I used to always tell the kids, I'm not worried about winning or losing. I just want you to have a great experience, right? The scoreboard takes care of itself. When you're, 11-1 or going to the 3rd round or the 4th, that's easy to say. Finish 4-5 one year, and you're like, shit. Well, what's wrong with these kids? They're starting to hurt my legacy. It's a bunch of crap. And then the next year we went 3-6, and I hated everybody. I mean, a kid would drop a pass, and I'd be mad at that kid for 2 days, right? And that was not me, right? And I had to step away from that. And I'm almost done here, just hang with me. The best thing that ever happened to me was I got a call from Mark over at Carroll, and I just went and helped him out. And I remembered how much fun football is. So I'm not saying let's hold hands and do that the whole thing. Football's a tough, aggressive game. We're going to coach it that way. But especially maybe for young guys that want to be head coaches, man, I guess I learned that a little bit, get humbled a little bit. I started to make it a lot about me. As long as you focus on the kids, we went through a 3-game losing streak this year. If that would have happened any other year of my life, I don't know if I would have gotten 4 hours of sleep in, okay? But I felt like we were doing what's best with kids. It allowed me to enjoy it. We ended up having a nice year and gave the kids a good experience. So I don't mean to give you a sermon on it, but I know that affected me. It may never affect you. But hey, the work we do is so freaking important. And I know it's cliche, but I said it and I was a hypocrite, and now I'm trying to live it. It's some of the most important work that anybody can do. That's helping young people. Thank you.